In a world of noise, there once lived a man who conquered it through silence. Before the sound, before the fame, before the world knew his name, there was a boy. A boy born into hunger, chaos, and darkness. And that boy would one day make the entire planet laugh and cry. This is the story of Charlie Chaplin, the man who made the world forget its pain, even for just a moment. It all began in the year 1889, in the fog-covered streets of South London. Charles Spencer Chaplin was born into a world that didn't want him. His parents were performers, artists who sang in small halls, hoping for applause that rarely came. His father drank away what little money they had. His mother, Hannah, sang under gaslight in cheap music halls, until one night her voice broke, and with it, her career. Poverty moved in like an uninvited guest. Sometimes Charlie and his brother Sidney slept under bridges, sharing one torn blanket and a dream that life could be more than this. But in the darkness, Charlie discovered something powerful. People may cry in the streets, but when they laugh, they forget they're poor. He learned early that laughter was survival. At 9 years old, Charlie was already performing. Tiny, barefoot, with a spark in his eyes, he'd mimic the drunks he saw in the alleys, the soldiers marching past, the rich pretending to care. The audience laughed. For the first time, he felt the warmth of something real. Connection. By his teenage years, Chaplin joined a small theatre troupe. He wasn't rich, he wasn't educated. But he had something no one could teach: timing. Every step, every blink, every pause was a dance. He could make sadness look funny and comedy look heartbreaking. Soon London wasn't big enough for him, and destiny was calling from across the ocean. It was 1910. Charlie boarded a ship to the United States with the Carno comedy troupe. He was 21, nervous, unknown, and had no idea he was sailing into history. When he arrived in America, it was the dawn of cinema. Black and white reels, silent screens, and wild possibilities. Within 2 years, Chaplin caught the attention of Keystone Studios. They handed him a costume, baggy pants, a tight coat, a bowler hat, and a bamboo cane. He looked ridiculous. But when he put it on, something changed. The hat tilted, the feet turned out, the cane twirled, and the tramp was born. A man with nothing, yet everything. Poor but proud, lonely but kind, foolish but wise. He was everyone, and everyone saw themselves in him. Within a year, Chaplin became a global phenomenon. Audiences lined up around blocks just to see that little man waddle onto the screen. He didn't speak a word. He didn't need to. Every look, every gesture, every stumble was poetry. And behind the camera, Chaplin was unstoppable. He directed, he edited, he composed. He was a perfectionist, a man obsessed with emotion and truth. Films like The Kid, City Lights, and Modern Times didn't just make people laugh, they made them feel. When the tramp found love, the audience cried with him. When he was beaten down, they wanted to protect him. Because Charlie Chaplin wasn't playing a character, he was showing the world its own reflection. But behind the laughter was a man haunted by his past. Success couldn't erase the boy from the slums. He was lonely, misunderstood, and constantly afraid the world would take it all away. He worked endlessly, pushing actors, pushing himself, chasing the perfect moment that could make a heart skip a beat. But there was one thing he could never master: peace. The year was 1940. The world was burning. War was spreading like a disease. Chaplin, now one of the richest and most famous men alive, did the unthinkable. He used his comedy to fight tyranny. He made The Great Dictator. A satire, yes, but also a warning. He played both roles, the ruthless tyrant and the humble barber. And at the film's climax, he spoke, for the first time on film, with a voice that echoed through history. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. It was not just a speech, it was a prayer for mankind. But not everyone laughed. In the paranoia of the Cold War, Chaplin's compassion for the poor and his criticism of power made him a target. The press called him dangerous. The government called him a communist. And America, the country that made him a legend, turned its back on him. In 1952, as he traveled to London for a film premiere, the US revoked his visa. Charlie Chaplin, the man who made the world laugh, was banned from the very nation that once adored him. He never returned. He settled in Switzerland, a quiet house by Lake Geneva. There, surrounded by his wife Una and their children, he found something he'd never truly known before: peace. He wrote, composed music, and watched the seasons change. The cameras were gone, but the laughter he gave the world still echoed. And though the world had moved on to color and sound, his black and white heart still beat in every frame of modern cinema. 2 decades later, in 1972, Hollywood invited him back to receive an honorary Academy Award. When he stepped onto the stage, the audience rose to their feet. Not for a minute, not for two, but for 12 minutes. The longest standing ovation in Oscar history. The boy from the slums had come home, and the world finally said, "Thank you." On Christmas Day, 1977, Charlie Chaplin passed away peacefully in his sleep. He was 88 years old. The world mourned, but somewhere, you could almost hear the sound of a cane tapping away into the distance. Because legends don't die, they live in every laugh, in every tear, in every story told under flickering light. Charlie Chaplin didn't just make movies. He made emotion visible. He taught us that silence can speak louder than words, that laughter can heal the deepest wounds, and that art can change the world. He was the poor boy who became a global symbol of hope, the clown who carried the weight of humanity, the man who made the world laugh and cry. Life is a tragedy when seen in close-up, but a comedy in long shot. Charlie Chaplin. And maybe that's the greatest truth of all, that even in our darkest moments, there's always room for one more smile. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next story. Thank you for watching.